I was just in a salvos, which, for those not from Australia and I guess New Zealand, I'm pretty sure that's where it's from. Salvos, as in Salvation Army, is like it's a second-hand store, op shop, place where you take stuff. Goodwill store, I guess. Various titles for it. I realized, like, we really do live in a very specific part of the world. In a lot of ways. I was just reading this book by Nicholas Bourriard called Post-Production, which is a follow-up to his, sort of a companion book to his book Relational Aesthetics. And I didn't realize when I bought it that, like, it talks very specifically about specific artworks, and so I feel like I'll need to check them out, look them up to know, like, for the book to really be worth, like, to really understand where it's coming from. But there's, like, I just read this chapter that's about flea markets and how that became, like, a prominent form. Like, that was kind of a point, like a starting point, for a formal starting point for some, like a certain trend of art in the 90s that was about like the marketplace as a concept, about exchange as like a human relationship, and the exchange of money and commodities as being, like, almost like the new basic unit of, like, social interaction, broadly speaking. And it just talked about a few artworks that deal with that, look at that. And then, so it was interesting then going into the salvos, just the things that are there. It really is just, like, detritus of, it's just capital detritus, I guess. Like, it's kind of, there's, like, various kitchen appliances. There was, like, a sandwich maker, like a yogurt maker, a juicer, shit like that. All of which, are, like, one of many that were made identically, and they're all wherever. And there's just one in the Nutra Bay salvos of this, like, Cambrook brand, like, blender or something. And I guess you just realize, like, that's one store that just has, like, a handful of things. And all that, like, it has the records, like a bunch of old records, like usually kind of like some classical, a lot of light classical, orchestral favorites, a lot of, like, pop from the, like 60s, 70s pop. And there's kind of, like, best of records, like, singers crooning with an orchestra or a big band or something like that. All these records, all these random books, and all these random appliances. But then I was just thinking about how they are all one of however many were made. Like, they're all mass produced, like, and it's very interesting to just have, like, a very disparate selection of individual items that all seem to have, they all become very individual in that context of, like, a bunch of different objects. They seem to hold a kind of autonomy, which then crumbles away when you realize that they are all one of heaps. And there's probably other ones in other op shops, and there's other ones still in people's homes that they just haven't gotten rid of yet. It's really bizarre. It's too much, really. There's too much shit in the world. In the Western world, I guess. This is a lot of waste. And now, like, like those objects, like some of those records would have been really hot at the time, like hot material. Or they might have been trying to ride the success of, like, a really hot star. Like some record label making a best of compilation without, like, because they own the rights to, 6 of the person's records, and they can just compile a best of or whatever. And it's just fucking, and then in 2017, it's just like, what is that? I mean, there's still hot content going around. There's just more digital detritus now, I guess. So we're just, like, transferring all that online. Which seems to be better in the sense of there's less physical waste, but I guess it's still all stored on physical servers, so I don't know. I guess, like, new media new media offers sort of like storage solutions to the old issues of. I'm gonna start a new vlog.